Happy Wednesday, everyone. It is Hump Day, and it is also September 1st, 2021. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is my turn to talk. Welcome, Terry Maher. Okay. All right, so I am going to get started. This is part 2 from yesterday's show where we were talking about mental illness, and that conversation turned into a conversation about race. So, my question today is: are white people being targeted as racial victims? And are white men now the targets of racism? Are they in more peril than any other race on the planet? And let's talk about this. Hello, Shy Lady. How are you? So, yesterday's show was interesting. I had a guest first time on the show who, as we were talking about mental illness, the show evolved. But this is the question that I have. Okay, I am African American, and can white people experience racism? Okay, I would say yes. But is it reverse racism? And I'm also wondering, there's been studies that have been done on racism against white people, and what has been found is that is it really racism, or is it the fact that the country, and I'm mainly going to talk about the US, I'll talk about internationally later, but just talking about the United States. The United States is getting more and more diverse, or I'm sure some people have heard the term the browning of America. So as the country is getting more diverse, and people of color, and when I say people of color, I'm talking about all people of color, Asians, African Americans, Latinos, Native Americans, you know Muslims, wherever you come from, wherever your culture is, wherever you come from, and you're in the US, as the country is getting more and more diverse, and more of these ethnic groups are starting to, you know, ask for representation, ask for fairness, ask for uh, just equality. Even though we did have civil rights and other things that happened in the past, more and more, especially the generation of people coming up today, they want their equality. So because of this, is that where white people feel threatened? That all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, now, the country's getting darker. So, we're getting pushed out. Are you really getting pushed out, or are people just raising their voices more? And we had talked on a previous show where the young, people of today are not like their parents. They're not like their grandparents. They're not like Martin Luther King, who we must do peaceful protests. We must turn the other cheek. They're like, okay, but you all did it your way. This is a new generation. We're going to do it our way. um, we want action. Now you have HR 1. You have the John Lewis bill for the People Act. We are backtracking 60 years where voting rights are in peril, and now we have the Speaker of the House, and we have the um, the minority leader in the Senate, who was on TV yesterday, pretty much saying that the majority, when Republicans are back in the majority, Republican rule, will remember any company that gives information to the January 6th panel that is investigating what happened. So this is what we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with. So I don't know. So I am going to open it up. And hold on one second. I do want to point out one other thing. And that is this past year. In August, I'm sorry, not this past year. In August of 2017, so again, under a different administration, the Justice Department decided to investigate instances of bias against whites in university admissions. And a lot of campuses had touted it's okay to be white. That was some of the models that they were saying when they were trying to get students, to enroll. And violence erupted at the University of Connecticut during a speech about discrimination against whites. And the question was, are white people under attack? And in the US, whites have historically been viewed as perpetuators of bias and racial minorities as the victims. But perceptions of this relationship have shifted. Okay. The majority of whites, and again, this is back in 2017, 55% now believe that whites experience racial discrimination. So, white people believe that bias against their group is increasing, while also believing that bias against Black people is declining. So, what they found, the Justice Department found, was it really wasn't an increase or a decrease, an increase in white bias or a decrease in Black bias. A lot of it had to do with social change. The fact that more and more of this country is getting darker. So so I invite, does anyone want to say anything? Miss Shy Lady, would you like to say something?
Well, I want to address the comment that the caller made yesterday. He mentioned that I believe he said white men are the most targeted group. I don't know if he said the world or America. I believe he was not in America, but I'm not sure if he said a
He's
particular country.
he's no he wait his because I looked at that comment again yesterday evening, and he said they're the most targeted on the planet.
Oh, on the planet. Okay. Well, um, all I can say is that I did some research on my own, and a lot of people want to a lot of whites in the media, and I read a lot of comment sections, CNN, all type of sites like that, USA Today, and a lot of them are stating that there is no racism. Black people do not experience racism. If they are killed by the police, it's their own fault because they're not following orders. Why don't you just do what they tell you? I see a lot of comments like that from people that are white online, and they want to say, you guys have an advantage over us now. You get an affirmative action, things all the time. Well, I did some research on the top 10 companies in America. And every last one of those companies, some were all white. Um, they didn't have any black people as executives. They were either majority white women, or excuse me, majority white men, or white women was the second highest demographic. There were, I believe, 3 out of the top 10 that had black people
Hmm.
on their executive team, but for the most part, um, in those positions were typically like chief diversity officer, and but for the most part, these 10 big companies had all white, basically all white. I would say 90% of the staff was white, and the third largest minority was probably Asian.
Okay,
Was
okay.
Asian.
So, okay, wait, I lost you there. So you're saying that the majority was white, and then the next majority was African American, and then the
No, no,
third
no,
was
no.
Asian.
No, I'm saying as far as executive,
Oh,
um,
okay, okay,
the main people that dominated these executive teams and these companies, these top 10 companies in America, were white men. They were overwhelmingly the majority.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
that's not surprising, but let me ask this then: do you think that the browning of America has anything to do with the fact that you have some white people who feel that they're under attack?
in my opinion, no,
Okay,
no. I
okay,
believe I believe that in this day and age, we're in 2021. There are more college graduates for as Black people than there ever was before,
hmm,
and we're still not in C-suites. We're still not there. We have Black graduates who've gone to Ivy League schools, but we're still not on these executive teams. And that's just give you an example of how racism for Black people is still very, very rampant in this world. Because there are many, many qualified Black people, college educated, that should be part of these executive teams, but they're not.
okay, all right. I see, but Bahram has joined us. Welcome, and I am going to go over to Terry. Welcome to the show. I know this is your first time here. Do you want to type something into what Shy Lady just said, or what you were here for my intro? Do you want to say anything, or type anything, or make a comment? If not, no problem. And Bahram, I see again you just entered. This is part two from where we left off yesterday because I just couldn't leave that conversation hanging. Do you want to join the chat or come on live? And do you want to say anything to what Shy Lady just said, or even to what we were discussing yesterday? Okay. Well, I do agree with you, and again, I can call it. Yes, if you want to, you can click in, and I will open the mic for you if you would like to call in. But until you do that, I'm just going to keep going. So one thing that is that I can only go on is my experience as a black person, my experience as a person of color, and I can only go by what I experience, what I see people who look like me experience, what I've seen my family experience, um, and a lot of it, in my opinion, and I've talked to various people about this, you know, it comes down to stereotypes that unfortunately were put on us, and we've been unable to shake. Now you can say it could be because of the way, black people behave. You all behave in a certain way. Okay. But how do white people behave? How do Asian people behave? I'm sorry, but Bahram, can you do that one more time? I missed it. Can you submit that one more time? There we go. Okay.
Hello?
Then, hello. Yes,
Hear me? Yeah,
I can hear you.
yeah. Um, what is the subject of the show? I can only see are white people being
Targeted
targeted.
as racial victims. And then it goes on to say this is part two of yesterday's show on mental illness, which evolved into a discussion about race. Are white men
Yeah.
now the targets of racism? Are they in more peril than any other race on the planet? And I invite
Mhm.
anyone to join in for a civil conversation. Hello,
Mhm.
OJ28. Welcome. So I
Um,
know you had a couple of things to say yesterday, and feel free. Just everyone, just
yeah,
please keep it civil.
yeah. So I've had a background in philosophy and politics, and now I'm into like conspiratorial stuff in regards to the COVID and things like 9/11 and things. But in my view, and the racial side of things is what I see is that the white man is being targeted in today's society. Um, is this white supremacy kind of narrative where anything the media, the government don't want us humans doing, all they need to brand it as is a white supremacist movement. And that ultimately turns a lot of people off. As far as the most recent one I've seen is the homesteading, people feeling that they're not confident enough in the government to come through with like the food production, which we're seeing in the UK. So they're going off and buying some land or growing potatoes and vegetables in their garden, which is it's a God given right, and they're being targeted as white supremacists for doing that. And I just feel it's like it's been an ongoing thing for years that they've used the black culture as well. They've used the black race to kind of as an agenda, like BLM. They've used them to kind of like weaponize race and divide us. And I think in regards to your own experience, if you felt that someone has been racist towards you, then I'm sorry for that, because I think racists are the lowest of the low. But the only way we can fight this is by ignoring them. And I know you disagreed with me last night, but we've tried everything else. We've tried, the media highlights it every day. It's in football at stadiums. They highlight it with the songs that are being sung, players maybe receiving it, but it doesn't work, because when you give these people attention, they're immature, they're childish, they'll just keep doing it. But when we ignore them like the class clown, they'll quieten down. I'm sure that would work better.
Okay, so I just want to be clear. So you're presently calling in from the UK.
Yeah.
Okay, so I must say that your comments just now are kind of opposite from what you were saying yesterday.
No, I was saying about the media highlighting this stuff, and I remember my first comment to you yesterday was the way to solve this is by turning off your TV. And I say that I have a podcast, and I say that at the end of all my episodes is because they want us living in fear. For example, I don't know your views on COVID, but if you were to turn off your TV right now and go on for 3-4 months, you'd
Hmm.
be a lot happier. And by watching your TV every day, you would believe, like, there's some places you would believe, if you're watching your TV, that if you go outside you're going to be struck down dead by a virus and that your world's on fire, literally. They're talking about these fires and things that are happening. So it's just about fear. And I'm not saying these things aren't real, but I'm saying there's nothing real. Like, I've been going about my day-to-day business for the last 2 years as normal. I've never felt affected by anything because I don't let it affect me, and it's all mind over matter.
Well, okay, and I understand that, but so you've been going about your daily life for the last 2 years. I mean, and for the most part, I think most people have. I mean, I am
Mm-hmm.
someone who, when I go out, I do wear a mask, and people
Mm-hmm.
laugh at me. I mean, my husband laughs at me because I also put on gloves. He also says, "Oh, are you going to perform surgery?" He thinks that it's funny,
Mm-hmm.
But I was wearing gloves before COVID. And I will probably continue wearing gloves and a mask for a very long time. However, when I look at, I don't think the media, I put it like this. I think it depends upon what media you're watching, because there are some media stations that it's like fire and brimstone. Oh my God, they don't don't wear a mask. COVID is it isn't real. But unfortunately, what we have now, which is very real, at least in the United States, is we have our hospitals, are full of unvaccinated COVID people. And
Mm-hmm.
you have, in Louisiana, where a category 4 hurricane just touched down, you have
Mm-hmm.
people who need to go to the hospital, but there's no room because you have COVID patients.
Mm-hmm.
I was outside cutting my grass this morning, and the gardener who used to be my gardener, now he's still in the neighborhood, and we were talking, and I said, "Oh, you're by yourself today. Where's your brother?" And he looked at me and he started crying, and he said, "I lost my brother Thursday from COVID." And and I said, "I'm sorry to hear that." And he said, "I'm upset with him because he wasn't vaccinated. He and his wife and his son, all three of them were in the hospital. His son came
Mm-hmm.
home. His wife is still in the hospital. They don't think that she's going to make it." And he said, "I lost my daughter to COVID in January. I lost my mother back in December." And he said, "I'm angry because he was not vaccinated." And I am one
Mm-hmm.
of those people who feel that, yes, I believe that one way to get rid of COVID and just stop it
Mm-hmm.
is for people to get vaccinated. So I'm not saying, the media is not putting fear, into my heart or anything. To me, it's just common sense. And in terms of things burning, I'm in Southern California. We
Mm-hmm.
deal with fires so much,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just destructive, and it kills it burns down everything. People are losing their homes left and right now. They're in other states and what have you. Forest fires are real.
Mm-hmm.
They are happening.
Yeah.
It's not something that the media is portraying. When you turn on your TV, things are burning. I can smell it in my house. I have
Mm-hmm.
to keep my air on constantly so I'm not smelling smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I'm not saying these things aren't real. Obviously the fires are real, and the COVID is. I mean, I don't want to go down, unless you want me to. I don't want to go into my beliefs on what these things are, and if they're man-made or if they're an act of nature. That's a different subject. But
Well,
I think that
what do you think the main media pushes in terms of things that to instill fear? What do you think the main media push
it's
is?
well, what I believe, maybe a better way of describing it is I believe COVID is our 9/11, and the best phrase that I've learned recently to describe COVID is when you realize the vaccine isn't made for COVID. COVID was made for the vaccine. That's a kind of like 9/11 type thing, where they had the Patriot Act and no one's wanted to sign it. The people disregard it. They didn't want it passed either. And then 9/11 happened 2 weeks later, and then it got rushed through the Patriot Act. So now our freedoms are, the security was, tenfold, airports and things. And that is like a thing when you look into these past events, you realize that it's a taking of our freedoms, and it's an orchestrated thing where they see when things like pandemics that we have every 4 years, if you remember, every election year there's Ebola or SARS, or there's always something. And when there's wars, when there's terrorism, a bogeyman again, they can take our freedom because we offer them up so freely. So when does it become common sense for us to think, wait a minute, if these freedoms are being taken when an event like that happens, when is it not common sense that these people would then orchestrate them on purpose?
Okay,
Yeah.
but let me ask this, and and I'm saying this as an African American woman.
Mm-hmm.
When people talk about their freedoms, and
Mm-hmm.
I have to put on a mask, I have to take my shoes off, when I'm going through the airport. I have to wear a seatbelt. I can't smoke. In a building, whatever. I look at that as that's nothing, because in terms of people of color, we've been faced, and we're still faced with it, with freedoms that we just can't have. That people still will not allow us to have. So when people complain about, this is another freedom being taken away, this is another being taken away, and so I mean, isn't it designed to keep you safe? And you look at
No.
at 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 Israel, their airports, it's like they don't have people who hijack or whatever, because of the way they run their airports, the way their airlines are built, and what have you. You can't charge into the pilot's what do you call it, their the pilot's pit, or whatever it is, the cockpit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they've always had those solid steel doors. We didn't get solid steel doors on our planes, at least in the United States, until after 9/11. Thank you, OJ
Mm-hmm.
Cockpit. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. In regards to what you were saying there about having freedoms taken for our safety, I would tend to side with having freedom because, for example, I want the freedom to say no to the mask. I want the freedom to say no to, because I want people to question the vaccine. Like, if you're not vaccine hesitant, I believe there's something wrong with you, because for people to blindly trust, whether it be science, whether it be your own doctor, for any random daily medical treatment, you shouldn't be trusting your doctor. You should, when we go into a shop and buy a car, or when we go into a shop and buy a kitchen appliance, a microwave, a freezer, we research them. We don't
Mm-hmm.
just blindly walk in and say, give me the best car you've got and sign me up to 5 years of $600 a month or whatever.
Right.
You look at the best car for you. So why don't we do this with our medical? Our doctors can, I think here in the UK, we're different. We have the NHS. We don't pay for prescriptions or any, because it's taken out of our taxation. But
Mm-hmm.
you guys, I think you pay for your healthcare. So doctors in America can literally sign you guys up for an operation that can cost tens of thousands of dollars. And if that doesn't prolong your life by a single day, then what have they done? Like, you're basically signing up to debt. You're signing up to this big, huge amount of money, and they have no fallback. Like, there's no laws that can affect these doctors for misprescribing you drugs or anything. Yet, if you sell someone a mortgage or a car and you give them the wrong interest rates and things, you can sue your mortgage broker or your car dealer. You can't sue your doctor. And these are things that people are working hard on just now. So I would say, again, back to my point, is if you're not vaccine hesitant, because there are people that have been vaccine injured. Since 1986, the vaccine courts started. They've dealt out over more than $4 billion since 1986 because of kids coming down with autism and things that, like, they're real. I've heard those real stories. So,
Well, I'm
to,
not saying that. I mean, I'm not saying that there are, people who are affected by some vaccines and what have you. And don't and I just want to make it clear, when the vaccines, when they first started talking about the vaccines, at least here in the United States, back in November, when they say, we're really trying to get the vaccine out, whatever, I was like, I'm going to wait. And I say
yeah,
that again as an African American, because in America, there are over 5,000 instances where Black people have been used as guinea pigs for vaccines,
Yeah.
for injections, for surgeries, whatever. So if anybody should be, hesitant,
yeah.
it would be
The Tuskegee experiment, is that what you're
right.
referring
I
to?
mean, I'm
Yeah.
referring to that, and I'm saying, but there are more than 5,000 other ex, uh, experiments with African Americans
Yeah.
that go back to the 17th century, where we were and we still are considered expendable. So yes,
Mhm.
I did question it, but after I
Yeah.
did my research and after I'm talking to people, for me personally, and for my family, we decided to get it. The more and more
Mhm.
I see that is going on, I think people should get it. But that's just
Mhm.
me.
Yeah.
Do I
No,
think
that's
that you should? And you do have a choice to wear a mask. You can wear a mask or you can not wear a mask.
yeah.
Will someone let you into their restaurant? For me, at my house, I don't even want you coming over my house if you're not vaccinated. And the only people who get into my house are contractors that I have had to come over, but
Mhm.
they have to wear a mask. And I've had contractors who said, "Oh, well, I've been vaccinated. Put on a mask, or else you're not coming
Mhm.
in."
Yeah. That's fair enough. That's giving people the freedom of choice. Where I draw the line is where they now. This is something that I've learned a lot about recently. Is like, see, these mandates. They're not laws. Like, I've been looking into common law, and that's why I haven't had to wear a mask from day one, because it's not a law. It's never been passed in law, and neither are these vaccines. So you'll see all these headlines saying people will need to wear masks and people will need to get vaccinated. I just look at them as if to say, yeah, if you're not clever enough to look into your rights, you'll have to wear one because you won't know. So, um, where I draw the line is taking people's freedoms. Like, if it's going to get to the point where you're not allowed to fly unless you're vaccinated, then that's where I have a problem, because they're taking away our God-given right to travel. That's tyranny, medical tyranny. I don't mind people saying you can't come into my privately owned business, because
Mhm.
that's your blood, sweat, and tears went into that business, and you've every right to turn people away. But it's when the government start taking away people's freedoms because of uh, the unvaccinated or whatever. Like, that is basically the stuff that we are taught that Hitler did to his people, and now we're saying that's fine. That's what I don't get. I don't get it. Likewise, I can maybe pull it back to you with the abortion. The famous phrase with "my body, my choice," and now we're all turning around and saying, "I don't care. Get the vaccine." Like, there's no. I don't get that.
Okay, well, I am going to. Juju has asked to come on and say something. So,
Yeah.
Juju,
Mhm.
I'm surprised. She usually sits back and she listens. So, what do you have to say?
Excuse me. I just got on for some reason. I don't even know where you're at in the conversation for me to add to it.
Okay, because
So
you
it
came on as wanting an invite, so I will block you. I'm not sorry, not block you. I will mute
yes,
you.
I
Okay,
understand. For some reason, I can't mute my phone, and
okay,
that's never happened before.
okay. Well, I will mute you, and if you want to come on, you're more than welcome. So,
Oh, thank you.
all right, okay. So, but Bahram and I have been, doing all the talking here. Does anyone want to add to what we've been talking about? Does anyone want to put in their 2, 3, 4, 5 cents, their dollar, whatever? And Spicoli, okay.
I'll drop a uh, $5 note in here. I don't know what y'all talking about. What are you even talking about? What's the topic?
Okay, I
Let's see
am
if I can
going.
add to it.
Okay, then I'm going to mute you for a moment, and then I will tell you what the topic is. All right, so we're talking about well, the conversation has kind of evolved into COVID and vaccines, but it was originally part 2 from yesterday. Are white people being targeted as racial victims? Um, you know, do white people experience racism? But as most discussions, especially on my show, things happen to evolve into different topics. So, I don't have a problem with that. So,
Yeah, it happens. That happens to me down here, or to white folks down here.
can I ask where down here is? What part of the country?
Oh, I live in Texas,
Okay.
in
Okay.
the south part of Texas, southeast part of Texas.
Okay. And you say you experience racism. Can I ask what type of racism?
Oh, you'll get punked. It's just like growing up through all through school and everything. If you don't stand up for yourself, you'll get your ass. Excuse me, I have a bad mouth. You'll get your ass run over. I'll just say that. So, uh, once you establish yourself, you're okay. So you make it through high school and into work. But if you go to the convenience store and you get stared down.
Okay, but let me
Some
ask you this.
people, no, go
Don't
ahead.
you think it's possible that, when Latinos or African Americans or Asians, if they were to, go into certain stores, that they get stared down? I get stared down all the time. So, and
Yeah,
I'm African American. So,
yes, yeah. It's not just white people.
okay. All right.
It's just the young generation,
Okay. All right.
the young punks. You know what I mean?
All right.
Because I
Um,
worked in the county as a jailer. I was a welder for years, and I screwed my back up, so I had to go work in the jail, the county jail. And I seen a bunch of my friends in there. They were inmates, but the young ones, man, the little youngsters are, man, they're wild. They have no respect for themselves, much less anyone else.
that's understandable.
It's
All right, I
sad.
am going to stop for a moment. And what I see on my side, I'm just asking for a little bit of help here. What I see on my side is different from what you guys see when you call in. Hold on one second. Terry is new to the show, and he needs to ask how are you calling in. And again, what I see and what you see is completely different. Can you can someone tell Terry how he can call in?
If Terry just presses on the #5 call in, probably, or any of the
Oh
remaining,
yeah.
yeah, if you just press on one of those, you'll go through to Solid Blue Sister. Sorry, I don't know your name, and she'll buzz you in.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can push on one of the empty call
The three,
spaces,
yeah,
or
yeah,
you can go to the microphone that's at the bottom right of the screen. It's like an
yeah,
old
yeah.
timey type microphone. You can push that, and then it'll come up and it'll say call in, and you push that.
Okay. So Terry, I hope you got that. So, um,
Mhm.
all right. So, this conversation is just interesting to me.
Mhm.
Shy lady, I'm going to ask you because you usually, you listen to people's comments, and then you usually have something you want to say. Is there anything that you would like to add to what Spicoli just said, and to what Bahram said, or
Well,
what I said?
there's been a lot of conversation both ways. I do want to say that both men sound very pleasant, very well spoken and polite. I do want to say
Thank
that,
you.
and you're welcome. Um, and I think that just like I think it's Spicoli said, depending on how you grew up, he may have faced some situations where he was confronted, and I can understand it. I could see his
Mhm.
viewpoint. Going back to the vaccine situation, and again, the conversation is different from what the topic is, but I'm just want to address the vaccine situation. I got vaccinated. Everyone in my family has, because we've personally known people in our family who did not get the vaccine, and a lot of people are not still not wearing masks. But for me, it's very real because, like I said, I have family members who have died from the disease. So I'm not taking any chances. I believe it's real, and I know someone right now on life support who did not get the vaccine, and she's been in the hospital for I think I want to say about 10 days and still fighting, not able to breathe on her own. So that's just my perspective. But anyone want to comment or go back to the original topic?
I'll comment on
Can I?
that on the COVID. I
Okay,
went and
straight,
got
Coley.
I went and got vaccinated in it was either May, January, March, or May. I think it was in May. I had to get the two shots, the Pfizer, and my wife and I got them. And about a month ago, we both got COVID. We didn't. The symptoms suck. The whole thing sucks, but it wasn't as bad as like if we hadn't had the shot.
Well, and that's
So
and that's what they say. They said, that vaccinated people can still, get COVID,
yeah,
but it won't be as bad. So, Spicoli, are you glad that you got the vaccine?
yes,
Okay.
I am glad. And also, the reason I got vaccinated was so I could go see my mother because it's just me and her. I don't have brothers, sisters, uncles, and all that family wise. It's just me and my mom. She's 83, so she got to get hers first. You know how they went through roll
Right.
call,
Right.
old people and health workers, and then they went down to the morons. So I went and got vaccinated, and wife did it too. She's a teacher, so she's got it before mine. And
Okay. All right. So
anyway, it worked out.
I will say you just made me laugh. So when you said they went to the morons, who are the morons?
Oh man, I talk so much stuff, crap. But yeah, it does help. I'm glad I did get it because I was able to go hug my mom. I hadn't been
Okay.
able to see my mom in like 6 months. I'd go see her
Okay.
and we'd talk through a window. I said, "Man, I ain't locked up, shit." You know.
All right. Hello, Doss. Doss just entered. So glad you came back. Okay. Hold on for
Can
a
I
second
say
here.
something to
Sure.
pull it back to the original topic? So, see, in regards to racism, I would say I view it, and I know this might sound like, obviously you can tell I'm white. Well, because I'm from the UK, I assume you think I'm white, which I am. So I can't really, and I do get that a lot, is you can't really talk about racism because you're white and you don't get. So I've had that said to me before, but in my view, sticks and stones may break your bones. That's something I believe about race. Like, if you get a look by someone at the shop, if you get something said to you, then that's more of a judge on them. Don't let these people bother you. Where I would be more inclined to be worried and concerned if it was happening is if black people were being discriminated, like for like you said, having their freedoms taken or not being allowed the same privileges as white people. And as far as I know, I don't see that happening. When you see like the statistics for, like, we were seeing a lot of the, after George Floyd, a lot of the statistics came out about, the blacks are shot by police and things, and the statistics just don't support that. So I don't know if you could maybe share some light on where you think that these things are happening, because if there isn't, then to me, it's like I said, it's just sticks and stones. And I'm sorry if you take offense to that. I don't mean that in any way, but for me, if I was to be called a white so and so, I won't say any word, but I would take more offense to the so and so word, not the color, But I don't believe a lot of people feel like that. It's kind of like a stick to beat you with. If you're a racist, then you're the lowest of the low, and I automatically win the argument. So I don't know if you can add to that.
Well, in terms of statistics, one thing that, and they have said this, the Justice Department has said this. At least, I'm speaking strictly, for the United States. Um, when it comes to African Americans getting stopped, African Americans do get stopped by police more than white people. Latinos get stopped by police more than white people. Okay, not as much as black people, but more than white people. In
True.
terms of there being an instance or where it can in a deadly, where it's deadly, the stats show that is more deadly, more likely that a black person will not make it home alive. It's more likely that a Hispanic person will not make it home alive, whereas a white person would. Now, I do know that when you look at someone like Dylan Roof, who back in, I do believe it was 2016,
Yeah, I remember that one.
went into the church and he prayed with these people for an hour and then shot and killed nine of them. He was walked out of that church with a bulletproof vest on, and they asked him, was he hungry? And they bought him Burger King. Now,
I'd have beat the shit out of him. Excuse me.
but I'm just saying. But yet you have, African Americans who, you look at Walter Scott, in South Carolina, who was running away from the police officer, and he gets shot 7 times in the back. Running away. It's on tape. Running away.
Yeah.
And if Dylan Roof were black, I'm sorry, he would not have been given a bulletproof vest, and they sure as hell would not have bought him something to eat.
That's so true.
So true. And this is where I said yesterday, where I think that one of the ways that we can move forward in terms of racism, and yes, I am calling out white people, admit that racism exists. Stop saying that there's no more racism, because
for
people
exists.
like me, yes, of course it does.
Who the hell says it does not exist?
You have a lot of white people who think that it doesn't, and you have white people here in America, I'm talking about America now, who says that we had a black president, so how can we have racism?
They're ignorant. I don't know how to reach them. I know exactly what you're talking about, Solid Blue. I don't know what the answer is, but it is totally screwed up. It's not that bad down here. We get along so good down here. I mean, even though you get mugged by the little punks, and I don't mean mug, just eye mugging and all that crap.
Eye mugging.
I
okay.
wanted to add can I add something?
Sure.
When I was younger. Now, see, there was a bunch of playing sports. This is back in the mid '80s. Playing football, for the school. I didn't have any problems like with my teammates. They knew who I was. I was a stand-up dude or whatever. Now, when you'd play another school, and because there weren't many white dudes on the football team, they were predominantly black, and the other team would come, and they, you head up with them, and we got a white boy here. We got a honky over. We got a cracker, and they're talking all this smack and this and that, and you just wait for that. You wait for the play to start, and you smack him right in his damn mouth. And you win a few plays, you lose a few plays, but after the game, you say good game, and the game is over with. But I don't know
Okay.
why it has to come out like to begin the game like that. But it is what it is, and I don't know what the answer is to stop all this stupid ass racism. That man getting shot in the back, and then the guy getting walked out of a church. Was that the one that did it happen here in Texas?
No, that was in North Carolina, South Carolina, North Carolina.
Because there was some jackass who shot up a church here too. It was over by closer to San Antonio. I'm south. Where I live is south of Houston, and there's some guy shot up a church, and a white guy shot up a white church over there and killed a bunch of people. I don't know what the answer is. It does not. It's just ignorant.
I mean, and that's why I say that the people who are saying that racism does not exist, and there are some black people. There are some black people who say that racism doesn't, exist. Okay, Shy Lady said it was South Carolina. Okay, so until people are get real and you're honest, well then you know yes, it exists.
Yeah, honesty. There you go. Be honest.
So I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist, but what I was saying yesterday is the media would like to make you believe it's a bigger thing. Like, do you know any racists? I don't know any, and I wouldn't be friends with any either. So when these things happen, like, you could probably count on one hand how many of these shootings happen a year in America. They don't happen anywhere else, and they're always gaslighted, highlighted in the news. And what you've got to ask yourself is what about the other probably 100,000 people that were killed that day? Because people are killed every day. There's some areas of America where, like I said yesterday, I think it's Baltimore and Chicago, where blacks kill blacks every week in double figures. There's 11 this weekend. Next weekend it could be 20, but it's always double figures every weekend. Yet they don't seem to, highlight those deaths as much. And it's like, what I always ask is are these lives not as important as, say, George Floyd? Like, for me, the George Floyd case was a telltale sign, because this guy held a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach, yet we're all crying, and the funeral happened and thousands of people were there during a pandemic, and we're all supposed to
Wait.
love this guy.
I'm sorry. George Floyd held a gun to a pregnant woman's
A
stomach.
pregnant woman's, yeah, and he's been in jail like 3 times for aggravated robbery and armed robbery and things.
Let me stop you there for a moment. And I understand that, because people, 20, 30 years ago, people did the same thing when Rodney King, during the Rodney King beating and what have you. And I guess I have a problem with when people say, well, I don't think people fell in love with George Floyd. I did not fall in love with George Floyd, but whether or not he was a drug addict, he held a gun on someone, whether or not, he just robbed a bank or whatever, did he deserve?
No. I knew you were right to say that. No.
It's like it almost seems that when people say what you just said, it's almost to justify what happened. It's like, well, then, you really can't add the two, because you look at how many police officers, they wouldn't even allow the past complaints that Derek Chauvin had. They wouldn't allow those in court. Just all the things that he did to people, did to people where they, where he beat them up or whatever for no reason. So just because of what someone did, that doesn't justify What happened to
No,
him?
not at all. Not at all. I wasn't
Uh,
for 1 second saying that at all. What I was saying is why was George Floyd's life? You know, I'm sure people die every day, and they do, and they're murdered every day. So why did the media highlight George Floyd and this huge BLM protest kicked off because of him? You know,
It wasn't
that's
because of
exactly what
him.
it is.
But
It's
it
the
wasn't him. It was because it was what happened to him, the way he died. I mean, if it was my son, or if it were Joe Blow, whatever, it was the
mhm,
way he died, the way he was murdered. So it's not that people
mhm,
loved him. They're talking about what happened to him, the incident. Hello,
yeah,
100 Yard Chemist. Welcome,
it
welcome.
it was viewed. You sat there and watched a man be murdered. Why?
mhm,
There's all that. What were there? Seven other officers
mhm,
sitting there or standing there with their thumb in their ass.
mhm,
I'd have pulled that dude off of him. Get your
mhm,
ass off of him. He ain't doing nothing. He's on
mhm,
the ground handcuffed. I don't care what his criminal history is. We could go into
mhm.
his past once you get him in. Just get him to the jail and put him in a cell. Book him in. All that
Yep,
crap was unnecessary, man.
yep.
All right. I am going to ask someone to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to ask someone to please drop off because I keep getting a notice that Terry has been trying to get in, and I think I am at my
Okay,
limit
I'm gonna drop
for.
off for you. Thank you for taking my call, Solid Blue
Okay.
Sister.
I mean,
Hey, are you on every day?
I am on Monday through Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So
1
if
p.m.
you're
Pacific, so
So if
that's
you're
3
in Texas,
o'clock.
that's three
3
o'clock
o'clock.
your time. But I
Okay,
mean, so
all
I'm
right.
not asking you to leave the show. I'm just asking you to
Right.
drop off from the
I got you. I
talking.
got you. I
Okay,
got you. Well, thank y'all. Thank y'all.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, Terry, so you should be able to get into that space there. Okay. All right. And let's see, 100-Yard Chemist. Let's see. I just want to make sure that I'm saying hi to everyone that's coming on. I don't want to ignore anyone. Okay, so um, I guess Terry still. Can someone once again tell Terry how to get on? Because apparently it's been like over 20 minutes and he's
Yeah.
been trying to get on.
Just just tap on the one of the free call-in buttons at the top there. You'll see 8. There's obviously us 4 at the top, so one of the bottom 4, or the microphone at the bottom right-hand corner. Press on that. I
Yeah. So
think
yeah.
actually you can invite Terry. You can actually click on Terry's name and
Well, I
press a
did
button
that,
that'll.
but hold on. I did that, but it didn't work. But hold on. Let me see if I can do it now. And okay, so I wasn't able to do before, so maybe because Spicoli dropped off, I'm now able to do it. So Terry, you should be able to come on now because I sent you an invite,
Mhm.
and I this is his first time on the show, at least first time in my show. So
Mhm.
okay, sometimes you have to get out of the podcast and come back in. All right. Okay. Well, I sent him an invite, so he has to accept it. So, does anyone else, want to type in or say anything? This has been a very interesting conversation. This has been a very interesting.
It could get a whole lot more interesting, but I'm trying to like with stop myself from going conspiratorial because I know it can trigger a lot of people. Like when you talk about these shootings and events, like I could go down a rabbit hole with that and point out things that'll show you that these are orchestrated events. Like they're not naturally occurring. People are acting and being paid and like to do roles and they're possibly not dead. So I won't go down there. But
Um,
yeah.
I wanted to say something.
Yeah.
in response to is it Byram? Byram? I'm sorry.
Baram you. Yeah.
Byram. Okay. Um, you had said a couple of things about like the shootings in Chicago and Baltimore. I didn't want to address those. I'm actually originally from Chicago, and
Yeah.
a couple of things. I do agree with you as far as the media. The media, their job is to create fear. They usually
Mhm.
lead the news with very negative and very tragic events, and
Mhm.
I think it's like what you call sensationalism, and
Mhm.
that's what they do. Unfortunately, they don't report good news all the time. But just to address the situation with a lot of the black on black crime,
Mhm.
um, I don't think that anyone is um, not, is particularly black people. We're not um, concerned. It's not that we're not concerned about the black on black crime. I am concerned about the black on black crime, very much so, because a lot of it is stemmed from systematic racism. Um, I know there's been discussions about it, and the majority of the victims
Ooh, excuse
that are
me.
being killed in Chicago are black on black crimes. I'm very well aware of that, and a lot of that, like I said, is due to systematic racism. A lot of these young people, they come from backgrounds where their fathers are in prison, and they're not the system. I mean, it goes really, really
Yeah.
deep. The system
Yeah.
does
I know
not
exactly
make
what you
these
mean.
people um, good for society when they are let out. They often can't find jobs and they become
Yeah.
repeat offenders.
Hmm.
And again, it's a whole systematic thing. But the
Yeah.
fact that the media has focused on the George Floyd thing is because of the video. And it's not about the fact that he had a record or whatever. It's about the fact that the man was basically unarmed, unable to
Hmm.
do any harm to any of the officers. And that is
Hmm.
the problem in America. Yes, there's crimes committed by white on white crime, black on black. Yeah, all of that is true. But the problem in America, it is the racism. And
Hmm.
people should not be getting killed who have not provoked or invoked a threat to the officer. Nobody should be getting killed for being stopped and with their
Hmm.
hands up. That's ridiculous. A lot of the activities with the black on black crime, these people are in gangs. They're no different from the mafia.
Hmm.
Mafia has lots of executions. It's organized crime because it often involves drugs. But with the
Hmm.
case of the media focusing on the police and innocent victims, it's a different story because
Yeah.
these people are unarmed and the police are supposed to protect. They are sworn officers to protect.
Hmm.
And when you're violating a person's right who is not harmed, who's not posing a threat, there is a problem. There's a
Hmm.
huge problem as opposed to organized crime, drugs,
Hmm.
gangs. It's a
Yeah.
different kind of murder involved. It's a
Hmm.
difference.
Yeah.
So, do you have a
I agree.
response to that, Bob?
Yeah.
Bahram?
Yeah. I agree with 99% of that. The only thing, well, I'll start at the start when you were talking about like the problem with black on black crime in these places like Chicago and Baltimore, whatever, where there's shootings, and you mentioned about the father being in jail, and that's something that I have heard and listened to people like Candace Owens and things talking about, and for me, when you hear white people talking about it, it can be very triggering for people to hear, because I believe they stop short at help the what is the way to fix it. It's easy for us white people to stand back and say these things and then just stop and not offer any help or any suggestions as how to fix it. So when I mentioned about we need the black the black community needs to fix themselves before they start criticizing anyone else. Like, I've heard that a few times. I don't mean it in any bad way. I just mean, like, for example, the culture, the music, the music that these gangs and things are listening to are, promoting of F the popo and shooting and carrying a gun and things. So that's the kind of thing that I believe. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I believe that kind of music is put into those societies, those communities, because they want these things happening. And you might disagree with that, but I'm actually on your side with that one. I've defended the Black community because I believe you guys are being targeted by cultural, social constructs that are being pushed into that community by, the CIA or the government, whoever you want to believe it is. And I don't believe that's too far-fetched. That's not a crazy thing to believe, because we know about how music in the 70s or the 60s, sorry, with, when they went into Vietnam and they were playing all this hippie music, and they made everyone peace and love, man, and so that they would like kind of let the Americans go to war and just let it happen. That is a tactic that they use. So I'm kind of defending the Black community for doing those, but it is a problem. And then to your point about George Floyd, I just want to clarify, I don't believe anyone should be killed. Like, I'm not saying he deserved to be killed at all. Everyone deserves their day in court or whatever. I didn't say that at all. But I could find a story, and I know for a fact that on that same day that George Floyd was killed, there was a white man killed in pretty similar ways by a Black officer. And I know it might sound laughable to hear this, but I could find it for you, and I'll bring it up someday. I'll join the show again. But I could find a story very similar to yours for every story you want to bring up. Like Breonna Taylor, we weren't told the full facts about her. The one with the young guy in the police car with the guns, and he was on Snapchat flaunting his gun, and he struggled with the police and ran, and we weren't shown that in the footage, unless you went and digged for it. So it's just not all as it seems. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to be, attacking. I'm actually on your guys' side. I'm just saying, just don't look at it for what it is. Like, don't be blind and listen to the media. Look into it for yourselves. That's all I'm saying.
You have made some very valid points. I would like to ask this: do you think that police officers, and again, I don't know how it is in the UK, do you believe that police officers should have qualified immunity, where basically they, for the most part, they walk away if they do something wrong?
No, I wouldn't say so. For me, the whole defund the police argument was so stupid, because I mean, I may be talking out of turn here, but it's a liberal kind of movement, and the same people would, are like the Me Too movement, and the same people would be, calling for more police in certain situations. So it's like cognitive dissonance. It's like you want to defund the police, but then you also want more police to police the streets in case you get raped or something like that. I may be being a bit too blunt there. I'm trying to word it better, but you know what I mean? Like the whole defund, I think they should privatize the police, because too many of the police are yeah, on you go.
Well, I will say that the term, and I am a liberal, and the term defund the police was just totally wrong. I say reform, because I do believe that the police department does need to be reformed. I do believe that when you have, like we were talking yesterday with mental health, that when you have people who, they need a wellness check or something, you don't need to send cops. You need to send, social workers or something. There's no reason, that, a lot of cops need to show up on a welfare check, because, usually, you're asking for something to go wrong. You have a woman who was deaf recently, who was attacked by the police, and she's citing and everything, and she's trying to communicate that that she cannot hear, but they're so busy yelling at her for not responding, and she ended up getting beat up. So it's like you know, in terms of defunding the police, no. Do I believe that a lot of the money that police officers or police departments get that they should get? No, I think that some of that money, a lot of that money, should also go towards social programs. That when things happen, where calls are made, where someone needs help, then you call a social worker or something. But not a whole SWAT team does not need to show up for one
Yeah.
person who's having a mental episode.
I believe probably even looking at say the knee on the neck technique, whatever, that is an actual technique that these police officers are trained to do. So
Yes.
looking at that, like looking at things like that. But one thing I know for sure is I heard that privatized policing, there's police stations situated here in the UK, and I'm sure in America, that are private. These are privately funded, and I believe in that more so, because if you look at all these statistics of police shooting and killing people, it's always done by government, state police. It's never by these private police, and that's probably because there's more care in the privatized
I don't know if I
section.
necessarily agree with that, because I think when you go private, you have a little bit more insulation, and it's like, well, we're a private company, so therefore you can't touch us. And I think a private company would allow. This is just my own personal opinion. A private company would allow more shenanigans to happen. I can't believe I just said that word.
No,
Shenanigans.
no. See, the way I look at it is we are basically, I'm dead against taxation. I believe because that's what breeds, carelessness and people not caring about their work. We take example the UK, we have the NHS. That's our National Health Service. So we have our taxes taken from our pay that pays our doctors their yearly salary. So they are receiving their 60,000, 70,000 pounds a year salary, regardless whether they do a good job or not. So that breeds for some doctors to not care about their patients, and I've seen it, and I'm sure you've seen it too. So it's the same with the police. If you're paying a policeman, whether he does a good job or not, then why would that policeman's, I know a lot of people are good at heart, but there are some bad ones, and those bad ones are being highlighted in the news by, they end up killing people, let's just say. So if they're paid by, the best way to say it is, if I insured my house against fire, in case it went on fire, I would pay the fire, no, sorry, I'll start that again. If my house was to be robbed, I would then go down to the police station and say, my house has been robbed. Can you find out who it is? I'll pay you by the hour or by the job until you find out who it is. That's how life should be, in my opinion. Everything should be privatized. Otherwise, it breeds carelessness and just, what I just said. Yeah.
Does anyone have a response to that? I like to give everybody an opportunity to talk.
Yeah.
Okay, Salt wants to come on. All right, Salt.
Hello, my name's Caps. I'm just in my wrong account at the minute. But,
It's
okay.
Caps.
Yeah. But all about racism and stuff. Is that what you're talking about? I've literally just jumped in, so I'm
We're
sorry.
talking. We are talking about racism. We're talking about COVID. This show is talking about some of everything.
Well, you know what I'm worried about? It's far beyond racism at the minute. You know what I'm worried about? It's about all these people that are, we do what we do every day and make sure that we look after ourselves and our family, and we make sure we try our best to do what we're meant to do and to follow the guidelines in such a respect, But then we're getting pushed into a point of we might as well be living in China at the minute, the way things are going. So it's a bit deadly, you know what I mean? And it's gone from the BLM to the fucking COVID, hasn't it? Sorry to swear, I don't know if that's normal on your show. But I'm from England anyway, so like, you know what I mean. I'm not a dirty American.
Well,
Bunch of racist
I will
bastards.
say that I am
Sorry, people.
African America and African
Well,
American, and
yeah,
I do
that's good. Good on
I
you. Proud
I
of you,
do
mate.
um
I'm a
you
white
know I
bastard, and I'm proud of what I am. You know what I mean? It doesn't
okay,
mean
all
I've
right,
got any.
good, but but I would
No,
not
but
say that BLM is the cause of.
no. I mean, there's so many movements that the media. This is where
Oh,
some people
okay,
don't
sorry,
understand. This
okay.
is where some people don't understand where I'm coming from. BLM has been going on for fucking years. Never mind a couple of fucking 2 years. Like, you know what I mean? It's been going on for ages. Like, you know, it's a stance where everybody stands by. You know, it's equality. It's normal to be like that. You know, it's just, you know, there's so many movements. I agree with that one, just like many others. But the point is that the media used it as a deterrent to take your eyes off something else, and that's what annoys me. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Okay, that's what Bob Ram was saying at the beginning of the show was about the media.
The
Okay,
media are
hold
the
on.
devil. Well, anyway, I'm going to shut my mouth, and nice to meet you anyway.
Thank you.
And
And Spicoli is back. Spicoli's
hello,
back.
Spicoli. My best friend, Spicoli. How's Pancha
Yeah.
Spicoli? Tell her I said hello.
So,
She's doing okay. She's a little under the weather. I heard
Oh,
that
no.
voice. I said, "Oh, he changed his name."
Yeah,
all
no,
How
it's
right.
not that. I'm
yourself?
in my other account. Sorry, bro. I'll come into my other account with my 800 followers. Don't worry.
Okay, so Spicoli,
I'll come in 1
did you
minute.
want to add anything? So I'm going
Yes,
to
I
mute you
went.
for a moment.
Yes, I went and looked at the video of Elijah. Ooh, I don't remember the man's last name. Somebody wrote it in here. It was a young guy, young man, and
Somebody
the
wrote it
police
in.
in the chat while I was in here earlier.
Elijah Claim.
Yes, yes. I was like, damn. That's just another incident where the guys.
Well, you know what's interesting? Well, I'm not even going to say is interesting. What's sad about that was someone called the police on him because he had just come from the store and he's walking home, and this was in November, I do believe, either October, November of 2019, and
Mm,
he had a muffler
uh,
over his face, and they thought that he was suspicious. And I was, and every time I think about that, it just breaks my heart on the level of if it were, during COVID, when COVID really hit the US, whatever, and he's walking down the street with a muffler over his face, he probably would have made it home safe.
yeah,
But he was initially he initially was stopped because someone had called in because of the muffler that was on his
yeah.
face.
There you
Hello
Caps.
go.
there.
So,
That's him.
you're coming in, at the last moment. I have been on longer than I am supposed to be. Again, this has been a great show. This has been a really good
Well,
show.
nice to meet you. Listen, nice to meet you. And it's lovely to meet other people that are in this kind of thing because we've been doing it for a long time, haven't we, Miss Spicoli and Bahram?
Yes,
We've been
yeah,
doing it for a while. And like we believe in all different opinions and all different like diversity. This is what it's all about. And you know, you can agree to disagree, can't we,
Yes,
Spicoli?
of course, as long as you do
And
it in a civil
this
way.
is it. Yeah, definitely. Like me and Spicoli play around with each other.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
we
No, no,
throw
no,
shots
no,
at
no,
each other.
and no, and I and Spicoli, I had no problem with you. You were a breath of fresh air. I have no problem with you, but
Oh, he's more
this
than a
is
breath of
one
fresh air.
reason,
His nose is too close to his mouth. That's the problem.
but this is another reason why, I want to do these shows, whatever, because, different opinions,
Do it more.
and
Do it more. And talk about different topics. And talk about, you know what I talk about? Bullshit. Serious. I talk about what's going on in my life today with my 4 children and my job and what I'm doing. And oh,
well,
God. And what are you doing, Spicoli?
tomorrow's
What are
show,
you doing, Spicoli? You're sitting
tomorrow's
there, yeah.
show. tomorrow's
You're
show is
fucking
going to
annoying
be
everyone.
okay, Caps. I'm going to mute you for a
No,
moment.
you're
So,
not. I'm
yes,
not.
I am. Okay, so,
But I love you
um,
anyway. I'm gonna go anyway. See, I can
all
unmute.
right,
I know this pod being shit,
all
but I
right,
love you
bye.
all. I'll see you soon.
All
I'm gonna
right,
start my own show. Spicoli, you're more than welcome, you motherfucker. I'll see you soon.
All right.
all right. So, this has been a really good show, and I thank everyone for coming. We've gone 20 minutes over, or 19 minutes and 35 seconds over, but tomorrow's show is going to be a little bit more fun. Hopefully not as serious, but thank you so much, you guys, for coming. And Balram, thank you for the conversation. I really appreciate it. Spicoli, as I said, thank you, and Shy Lady, as always. So to all of my guests, thank you so much. I'm Solid Blue Sister. This is my turn to talk, and I will see you tomorrow.
Y'all
Bye.
have a good evening.
100-Yard Chemist, I missed some of your input. Hopefully, tomorrow, if you come on the show, we're going to talk about bucket lists. So, hopefully, you'll be able to join in because I enjoy your conversation. Terry, I'm so sorry you were not able to get on. Hopefully, the next show, you'll be able to get on. And Chemist, you are still making me laugh. You are still making me laugh. Shy Lady was hoping that you would be on yesterday, so we were happy that you showed up today. You are another breath of fresh air. I'm just going to let this song play out before I totally end the show. And that's it, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Bye.